Hello. So I guess we should start slowly because of that problem of some people having to leave early and some people having to come late. We're going to do the worst thing, which is actually making everybody unhappy. So, but before we start, can I just ask quickly, how many of you actually filled up the survey on Aperture? How many of you have seen it and filled it up? So that's actually, I mean, half of the room, right? So which is, okay, so that's interesting. Meaning that not everyone who has actually, is here has actually seen the survey. So you will see some of the survey results, and the, I think Elizabeth will be presenting the survey results, and that'd be interesting. Maybe just a quick historical word. So that project. I mean, yeah, I think we could start formally.
You will need to change the slides from
All
there.
right. So. Okay, so I'll change position as well. And again, not everyone who should be here is yet here. I think Peter, for instance, is going to join us in 10 minutes or so. So I'll try to start slowly to get making it. So what is Aperture and why we started that project a while back? Just realized the kind of the gap analysis. The gap analysis that we did was the following. In a lot of what we produce as a research community is our research objects that are very important and very critical for the research, but not always well recognized. And that aspect of recognition of research objects such as data sets and tutorials, software libraries, all those things. That recognition aspect is still, I think, weak. That's my assessment, and open for discussion. So the question is, and also there's also the aspect of openness and whether we actually want to have rather societies rather than companies running the way and what we publish. I think that was also an aspect of that thing. So basically, what the really key critical thing for Aperture are the following five mottos somehow. So first of all, publish more than PDF when you can publish more than PDF, and that comes from the realization that if I take an article and I look at what's been done, if I have to start again from just the PDF, if I haven't got some of those first tools and first things done, it's going to take like ages, and it's going to be really, really hard. So the PDF is probably the most unreusable thing. I mean, it still has the ideas, which is probably the primary thing. So I'm not, it's not. But it's really almost like an artifact of the publishing of the 19th century, right? It's you just have the paper, or and if you have the paper on the web, you just don't do anything with it. I mean, we now can scrap the text. It's not very reusable. So that's one aspect. Doesn't mean that Aperture should not be publishing PDF. Of course it should. I think but it's not only PDF, and whatever you can actually enrich the research object, you should be enriching the research object. So the second thing which I was alluding to is the high quality aspect. There are many platforms where you can actually post or disseminate research objects. Data sets, or you can put your data set on Zenodo, right? I mean, but there's not that many platforms that actually review things. So and actually put a label of high quality on those objects. And I think that's still very needed for in terms of the open and society-based platform. I think that's still something that is missing in many instances. Openness, and that's and what is open and what is not open is not. I don't think that's always a completely 1 or 0 thing. Clearly, openness in terms of being accessible, and the PDF being accessible. That's something that's a clear thing. I mean, and many journals actually moving in that direction. I think almost every journal is moving in that direction. I don't know what's happening with Plan S, but I think there's so much pressure for the making those PDF, those published artifacts open for everyone. It's really moving fast in that direction. That's my sense. But the openness can go much further than that. And for instance, in the review process, can we then open the reviews themselves or not? Is that something that is desirable or not? And basically having a way for the society to actually give the feedback and give some what is preferable, what is the society actually wanting, what is the community wanting on those things. I think that's an important and clearly this will be a debate and discussions, because there are many various opinions and sometimes strong opinions on those questions. So it's interesting. Governance. I think that's something really dear to my heart. It's the aspect of a publishing platform that is not run to actually make some profit, but it's actually run to make sure that the society and the community is publishing the best artifacts and the best what is needed for the research to go fast and well. Is something that is important. So I think one of the core ideas is that OHBM will be the parent organization that will run that platform in terms of the governance, in terms of the financial aspects, and so on, and making sure that the society is not trying to actually make money, like a huge profit out of those things. I think is one of the elements as well that is core to the. And that's the non-profit aspect. That if the fees can actually cover the running of the operation, I think there's no profit. There's no obviously it has to it will have to be some money to go in, because that you can't run those things without any cash. But that's not a money making machine for the society. That's what the key aspect is. I think those are the 5 keywords, things, but I'm sure there may be some other ideas and other things that people will want to add. So I think that's will be for the. Before I go, I should say we'll have a bit more of a presentations aspect, in the first part of the meeting, and then there will be a discussion. But we rather postpone the discussion until everyone has presented and give feedback on where the project is and so on. So the initiative comes from Topic. So Topic, I think Martin, you started that a long time ago, or not that long time ago, a few years ago, and supported at the moment by OHBM. It doesn't cost much at the moment because there's no huge cost associated. So it's not a costly operation for the society. But it is actually in the strategic investment plan of the society. So that's something that the society has thought, okay, having a place where the community can actually publish those, research objects that are rich research objects, and in a way that is handled by the society is something which is important for us. And that's so that is actually, there are 4 lines in the 4 items in the strategic plan. I'm sure Joanne could actually recite those. I can't, but I know that the 4th one is Aperture, is the publishing platform. Tom, I'm sorry, there was some confusion on the timing, and therefore some people are going to start to trickle in at around 12:30. Right. So that beautiful picture was created by one of Nikola's students, and with the elements of how we measure the success and what we want, what are the key elements that are making sure that this is going to be a success. And to me, again, one of the key elements is not only the openness, but it's really the high quality aspect. If we there are many open journals again that are doing open publishing, and sometimes for almost no cost and so on. There are very few of those, very few, or almost none, that are actually having a stamp of acknowledgement of high quality by the community, and that's really, I think, having like those things together is the measure of success to me. There's a lot of people that are thinking that there's a little bit of a problem in trying to reproduce research at the moment, and that so that having like a bit of a collaboration on reproducibility was something that we thought would be important as well. And also, I was just discussing with Etienne, like he was saying, hey, there's a lot of trouble in terms of publishing those reproducibility of research. Like if you reproduce something and you send that to Nature Neuroscience, they're unlikely to publish it, and that's just because they're it's kind of liking the excitement of the new result and things like that, but it's still such an important thing to publish, and so we are a bit like we have to balance that aspect, and so that's where was I? Open source. Yeah, and then there's the aspect of non-profit again that I think was important. Like again, that's not a project to make some profit for the society. I'd like to thank the people that have been involved to start this thing. So there was this whole topic committee that started this thing a couple of years ago. And then we started to created like little working groups with community engagement, sustainability, workflow. What sort of workflow do we do? Also, like some like what would be the first set of research objects that we could publish? Plus, infrastructure, which is such an important and difficult aspect. That's why Tal ran away, because but he's coming back. But I must say that that's at the moment that's the one we're really like late and with. I mean that's the thing that is we're still struggling to have like what exact type of infrastructure we want. And one of the elements that we may move from, we don't know yet, is the fact that this was I was hoping to get an open source platform where, for instance, the developers that are involved in the Open Science SIG could actually could go in and put some issues and say, hey, I would like to see that sort of feature in Aperture, and then they would go like, oh, that's a very good idea from the and then that could be implemented and maintained. And the maintainability aspect could be the fact that if you have like a lot of developers around and then in a big open source project, there's a maintainability that is actually achieved by the distribution of work across the open source community. So that was the initial idea, and frankly, I don't know yet if that's going to pan out, and that's still under discussion. For the little story, we started with and I'll close that parenthesis, and I'm sure there'll be more discussion on that later on. But for the little story, we started with the Collaborative Knowledge Foundation publishing elements that are being reused at the moment by Indawi, by eLife, by like a number of platforms. We had developers. We had the first developer who struggled with the thing because he hasn't got the React and the /GraphQL stack in his hands. And then the second developer who actually was really good and that started to do some really good things, and then left for industry because it was paid to write more in the industry. So all those things are little setbacks, and so we're still investigating what is the best way forward. And I'm sure Peter will. And there's different ideas and different possibilities. So the only thing I can say is that I'm pretty confident that we will have something ready for Montreal meeting, but probably not very early on for sure. And I wish I tried to actually get something off the ground for this meeting, but failed. Yeah. I think that's all what I wanted to say, like as an introduction. Again, I'm sorry for the people who will be arriving a bit late, or I mean not late actually with the time. But now if we could go and talk to you about the survey. I think that was a very nice operation led by Nikola and others on getting from the community what the community wants for publishing. Yeah, and also I use the term publishing platform rather than journal because again we would like to move away from just the article and the journal is very much associated with that PDF kind of or actually. So Elizabeth is a doctorate candidate, is that the official term at McGill, and she handled the analysis of the survey and she will be presenting the survey to you. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. Very happy to be here. I'm also very happy to hear that JB asked, for those folks who came in a little bit late, kind of who had actually taken the survey, and it isn't the entire room, because this means there are lots of interest in the community from folks who are here and folks who are not here. So whether you took the survey or not, I think this is a really kind of interesting slice on how folks in our community feel about this kind of thing. Really excited to talk about it. So I'm just going to introduce it a little bit here. The rest of the speakers will be going through it as it relates to their own areas, but I'm just going to provide a little bit of context on exactly what we were asking, why we were asking it, and some of the general characteristics of the responses. Okay, and I also want to say that in true open fashion, this whole analysis is already available on Binder. So what that means is if you go to this link, you'll see a button that says Launch Binder. If you click that, it'll do a little spinny wheel for a minute, but when it loads, you'll have a whole interactive environment where you can see every single thing we did to analyze the survey results, all the results that we include in the blog posts, and all the blog posts are linked there. So you can actually go through for yourself, ask new questions, or see how we ask questions, and really work with this data yourself. So everything I'm telling you is available online, which is great, but also try and give you a little bit of a guided tour on some of the things that we have out here. All right, so really what we wanted to do is get feedback from OHBM community members on 4 key areas. The first was the perceived need for Aperture. So did OHBM community members feel like it would be useful to have a new publishing platform, in particular one that was associated with the society and could maybe potentially publish novel research objects? The second area that we really wanted feedback on was preferred kinds of objects to publish. So of course we're all familiar with traditional PDFs, but there are lots of other research objects that we're generating day to day, and it would be really nice to have some of those vetted, reviewed, get recognition for the scholarship that they are. So what kind of objects are people thinking about? What kind of objects are they generating? What kind of objects would they like to see in a venue like Aperture? The third area we wanted to get feedback on was potential reviewing models. So there are lots of different ways that review could be done. So today the majority of the system is done through single blind reviews where the reviewer knows the identity of the authors, but the authors don't know the identity of the reviewers. But there are variations on this model that we could think about. So we could do signed or unsigned reviews. We could also think about doing post-publication peer review. So after the research object is available, how could we continue to get feedback from the community and hear about, the use of this object and if it's valuable? And the last thing we wanted to hear from community members on is pathways to financial sustainability. So there are quite a few ways that we could think about making Aperture a financially sustainable platform, but because this is so directly tied to the society, we really wanted to know what are community members thinking, what would they like to see, and what do they think makes sense. So again, I'm not going to go through the whole survey. I really just want to provide you with some very high-level information about how we got our responses. So in December of 2018, we launched the survey and advertised on the OHBM blog, on the mailing list, and on social media like Twitter. After all of this, we received about 200 responses. So it's actually 192 members, which you'll notice is kind of a small slice of the community, but of those responses, 43% were early career researchers. So this is graduate students, postdocs. I think we had 1% undergraduate researchers actually, which was great. And so this really seems to be, even though it's a small slice, it's a pretty representative slice. And of this slice, 87% think that we should have our own publishing platform. So this seems like a really good place for Aperture to step in and to have this close relationship with the society and to host these kinds of research objects. And I just want to say really quickly that, again, because this is a small survey in terms of sample size, we really want to thank all those members who did take part. We really appreciated hearing from you about what you value and what you would like to see moving forward. But more importantly, we'd also really like to start a dialogue with the entire community. So there are a lot more of us than just 200. It would be really great to hear from everyone, hopefully in venues like this and moving forward, about what you would like to see in this platform and what you think would be really valuable for our community. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nikola, but I just want to remind you again of this link so that you can go and explore the results yourself and check it all out. Thanks.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for presenting, and I know you have to leave to the Open Science Symposium, Open Science SIG, and we'll continue with the survey results. I just want to get you used to how to interpret the responses. Thank you for coming. Sorry we had to start late. So these are the results organized by color, hopefully making it a little bit easier to read. So I'll spend some time explaining what this means. First, starting with the question, what factors contribute to your decision where to publish? Red and blue are strongly agree and agree. Violet and orange are disagree and strongly disagree, and then green is kind of neutral, neither agree nor disagree. So I think the easiest way to read this would be to take a look at the location of the green bar to see, how far to the right it is, and then also the size of the green bar. If it's very large, that means quite a few people didn't really have a strong preference, strong opinion on the topic. And then when we take a look at what is really important, there's a couple that stand out, which is scientific theme and journal reputation, right here. But then a lot of the others are about the review standards, high review standards, review times, review transparency. So seems like that's very important, and that's why Peter, who's on his way, will spend some time about our review workflows. And then not to be ignored, people do care about the impact factor, whether we like it or not. And it shows here, it's also among the most popular factors, and I don't think we can escape it, but we have yet to discuss how exactly we'll incorporate impact factor into what Aperture hopes to accomplish, but it goes with this high quality theme that JB introduced. So this is the count of people. We had 193, I believe, but not all of them responded to every question. So you will see that at least 175 people responded to all of these. So I hope that makes sense, both in terms of setup of what the community cares to decide to publish in Aperture, but also how to read these results. And then I'll also explain the next question that was featured in the survey. What content would you like to see in Aperture? And here you will see lots of options: tutorials, simulations, communications, review articles, original empirical articles, which are kind of the standard PDF, but also methods, meeting summaries, data sets, data descriptors, computational notebooks, and so on. And it's kind of tough to make a call here what is the most important. I think it makes sense that original empirical articles are still preferred by the community, and we're not giving up on those. I think that should be possible to host on Aperture. But then we noticed that, for example, tutorials have quite a lot of interest. And this is not a conventional research object, and the community said that they would like to see more of those. Methods articles, you will see also right here. Those are pretty popular. And then, data descriptors, code, making it easy to reproduce code and analysis. All those are on the radar of the people that responded to the survey. So my role here is really to try to propose a couple of different research objects that are already happening, and just to get people thinking about what could possibly be published by Aperture. By no means an exclusive list, but some things that already exist that are looking for a home. How many of you are aware of these tutorials that the OHBM blog has been publishing, the how-tos? Okay, quite a few. That's great. These take a lot of work, and what they do is they leverage our on-demand platform. So these are the people that have been contributing, quite a few in the room, and especially big thanks to Jeanette and Niels, who really got it off the ground as part of the communications committee. And they take videos that are on the on-demand platform, and they write these wrapper review articles around them. They're not short. They're in the order of about 3,000, 4,000 words about. And they will annotate the videos and say, as so-and-so said in this video, resting state functional connectivity is important because of these issues. I encourage you to take a look at them because these are things that are currently just blog posts. I think they could be more. And as you will see, they go through quite a lot of editorial work, so they are in a sense peer-reviewed, but Aperture would be a way of making them even more properly vetted and hopefully with some feedback from reviewers that will improve. But it's leveraging what we already have, and these tutorials have tripled the amount of on-demand views that we have at the moment. So they are good for the community. Maybe they could be even better. This is something that is from a partner. So the Canadian Open Neuroscience Platform is dedicating some financial resources towards Aperture. And they also have this platform called NeuroLibre, which is at the moment hosting Jupyter notebooks that can be executed in the cloud via a browser using BinderHub. We want to deploy BinderHub on the Compute Canada high-performance computing infrastructure to make this fast, but these objects already exist. And the first one here is a supplement to an existing paper. It's a neuroimage paper, but because there were issues with sharing the data, the authors here, and I have to credit Pierre, who is really driving this effort, Pierre Balek, created simulated data and made it easy to explore the data and to reproduce the figures that were in the original neuroimage paper. This is a tutorial that was built by people in my lab. Mathieu Boudreau is a developer hired by the Canadian Open Neuroscience Platform. And this is a tutorial built by Elizabeth and lots of other colleagues, which is an introduction to machine learning with NiLearn. Without going into too much detail about what this research object is, I just want to show the layers that are possible. So this is a tutorial for MRI T1 mapping. And it reads like a conventional PDF article, nothing fancy there. It is PDF compatible. But then, when you go to the second layer, you see that these figures can be dynamic, and you could explore the data that are in the figures. You can also explore the phenomenon that generates the figures. For example, let's see how inversion time affects your signal, or let's see what the real-world data looks like. This is the brain, and these are the T1 maps that come out of the original MR images. So there's a layer of interactivity to them. There's a layer of transparency, because you can actually see the code that generated the outputs. And this is important if people just want to reproduce the findings. And then the fifth layer is reproducibility. Not only can you see the code, but you can actually interact with it online. And I'm not saying that every Aperture object needs to have these 5 layers, but it's just showing what is possible with current technology, and hopefully Aperture will make use of that. So to me, that's really just a brief snapshot of what is already out there. So, you know, hopefully we're not starting from scratch. But we're really open to suggestions. And I would like to use this opportunity to solicit, if you have an idea of a research object that you're excited about and you think it doesn't have a proper home, talk to us, and we hope that we will provide the infrastructure to make it possible to publish that research object. So this is the moment when we pass to the reviewer model, except Peter is not around yet. So maybe Michael can go? Yeah. So would you like to talk about the reviewer model as well, or maybe just go to sustainability first?
No, I'll talk about the reviewer model.
All right. So
I don't care. What do you want me to talk about? Peter might come in.
Yeah, so how about
I'll talk about sustainability.
Yeah, talk about sustainability, and if Peter doesn't come, then you'll talk about the reviewer as well.
Okay. So just a disclosure that I have conflict of interest. I happen to be an editor for a commercial journal. And if anyone feels uncomfortable about that, then I'm happy to be made redundant. And the former editor-in-chief is also involved in this. But the bottom line is that between us, I mean, and others in the room, we've edited probably 20,000 papers or so. And I also got involved when I was treasurer of OHBM. So don't shoot me. I mean, I've walked with Darth Vader for several years now, and JB's trying to encourage me to come over to be Luke Skywalker. Okay, so without further ado, I mean, my remit here is to try and meet some of the community expectations or contribute to ideas about keeping this affordable and flexible according to the workflow, but also sustainable, because we don't really want to launch a platform, encourage people to contribute, and then in 18 months' time, the whole thing will be depleted and won't survive. We also, this was kind of born at the time that OHBM, when I was on council, moved towards becoming a society. And so Aperture is seen as being one of these non-conference-based activities. So key principles of Aperture, a brief period of launch support from OHBM financial reserves, about 2 years. Even PLOS, you might be interested, ran at a 20%, I wouldn't call it a, well, it was a cash surplus in order to build up cash reserves. But on council, we've decided cautiously we don't need to do that because OHBM is there and can even contribute to the platform for the first 2 years. Aperture should then become cost neutral. I mean, most of the income from OHBM comes from the meeting registration, and so there's an ethical issue there about how much we're asking people to contribute to Aperture to come to a meeting. But hopefully these sorts of activities will build value of being a member for OHBM, and that will be part of any necessary ongoing financial support, not the meeting. But our goal is to be cost neutral. From year to year, as Aperture is not exactly cost neutral, then OHBM acts as a financial reserve or cash buffer. But this should be, on average, cost neutral over 2 to 3 years. Okay, so if you have concerns about these, because these are quite big decisions, then this is the time to bring them up. I'll just go through, that's what I've just said. Revenue. This is putting aside OHBM contributions. Submission fee, and this was canvassed in the survey. This could range from $0 up to a non-zero amount, which would differ between members and non-members. Remember that we're trying to incentivise people to become members as well. I think it's quite contentious to have a submission fee, and it can be quite difficult to manage. If people are not sent off for peer review, they might feel quite aggrieved to have parted with money. And there certainly are some journals with submission fees, and sometimes that's caused concern. But nonetheless, we've put that in there because if we're not publishing everything that comes into the platform, that can keep down the article publication cost. The sort of median number that came out of the survey was about $800 for members and $1,000 for non-members. Now, this is an aspirational number. This is not the number that we came up with after doing the business model. This is the number that we're pursuing in developing a business model. So it's a bit around the other way. Oh yeah, and so OHBM gets back should in chance we make a bit of money. Costs, the platform, well, you know, that could be near zero, but we're going to have to pay developers to program up open source platforms. A journal manager, Anna and I know the importance of having a paid professional there watching over our shoulders and sending emails and keeping caution that there's no papers that have drifted into a black hole. And plus we need to do plagiarism reports. We need to make sure what we do at the end of the day is PubMed Central compliant. And we've had discussions about whether we do or don't pay for some copy editing for those more traditional PDF-like products. Marketing. Yeah, I doubt we're going to market it, but we've put it in there as a line.